start recording. That is all going. Are you good to go, Lucy?
Yep, I'm recording.
Perfect. I will start streaming then. And just double check. I have got Twitch up ready. It will see us in a moment. Yeah, there we are. We've kicked in. Good. Let's just double check. Did I put the right details? 3. Oh.
No.
Why does OBS have that little thing? Oh, I see. That's fine. That exists there. Okay. Lots of things exist in various forms on different things, but we're definitely on Twitch. I'm definitely live. Things are recording. Audacity is going. Everything is sort of working. Yes.
Sorry.
Exactly. So, I'll kick us in then. Welcome, friends, to Tanked Up, the podcast all about video games and beer. I'm one of your hosts, Ben, here with Lucy.
Hi again.
Hello, mate.
Just the dynamic duo again.
Absolutely.
Catwoman's off somewhere else. Don't know where the deal is.
Well, to be fair, we haven't had an update on the new cat for a while, so he might have like 6 or 8 by now. Who knows?
True. And that's how he'll become Catwoman. Yes, you're right.
Just imagine him in all of that spandex. Oh no, wait, Catwoman's a bit leathery, isn't she?
What is the actual way that she turned into Catwoman? Because is it like the Richard Burton, like what?
Tim Burton.
Yes, Tim Burton. Didn't she just like fall off an apartment building and get a few cats sit on her face or something like that? I can't remember how Catwoman gets her cat-like reflexes. I know that
I don't remember
takes on it.
Yeah, because I don't know the Halle Berry in that film version. I don't even know which film that one was.
Mystery. Yeah.
Which one was that?
Yeah.
Who's the other one? Michelle Pfeiffer is in the Tim Burton ones against Michael Keaton. I don't know.
Yeah.
A cat bit her like Spider-Man, and it was a radioactive cat.
I'll just. Okay.
And all she got was like good agility. That was it.
Yeah. Cat just sprayed in her face, and it was just like.
She was just sleeping on the sofa. It was coming in, marking its territory, and that was it. She inhaled it and became a cat herself. Because that's obviously how it works. It's episode 364. I'm going to open up a beer. Because I'm bringing beers this week. Lucy's bringing games. We thought we'd share the burden of being on the internet together. Burden. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I'm going to drink
beer and terrible games.
Well, hopefully not terrible beer. A while back, we were saying, why are there no sort of like red rye ales and anything like that? I've not got anything. I don't think it's got rye in it. I'll double check on the flavour text. But I've got a red IPA. It's a beer from Good Chemistry called Flashdance Feeling. It is 7%. And what's the flavour text telling me? An all-new IPA hopped with Simcoe, Vic Secret, and HBC 630 for strong notes of pine with subtle red currant, the perfect balance of bright experimental hops and complex specialty malts.
Okay.
It suggests on its little wheel 82% hoppiness, 57% maltiness, 52% bitterness, and 64% sweetness. So essentially a hoppy, sweet beer, a little bit of bitterness on the end. But we shall see.
Yeah, I wonder how malty it is, because that's what I would expect from like a red ale. But I have seen them a bit more often recently. Red and amber ales. More so than like in the last couple of years, which they still not, prolific, but there's been a few more. Let's say every 1 out of 30 cans I see
Okay.
is a red beer, as opposed to every 1 out of 500 how it used to be a couple of years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it may be coming back.
That would be nice. I like
Mm.
a red IPA or a red ale or
Mm-hmm.
something with a bit of rye in it. This does
Yeah.
it does say sort of. I'd imagine that rye would be an allergen because it's a cereal,
Mm.
but it doesn't have rye in it. It's got malted barley, wheat, and oats in it, or at least that's the allergens that they tell us. They
Yeah.
don't
Okay.
give us any of the actual malts themselves. I didn't see, but the pairings are Flying Sparks, 80s Perms, and On Point with an E on the end. I don't know what that one is.
What, like, is that
Maybe I'm not 80s enough.
a ballerina pose?
Potentially, it's Flashdance, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes, something to do with
we got there in the
dancing
end.
and wiggly legs.
Just insulted all the ballerinas there.
Absolutely, yes, completely.
I tried 20 years so my legs weren't wiggly.
They're not meant to wobble.
Yeah.
So you get the red currant on this straight away.
Okay.
The nose is absolutely that. Not getting much else. It's just a sweet kind of red currant. It almost, I suppose red currant's an interesting one because I could see this being very. And again, I would imagine it would depend on the yeast that it's paired with, but almost getting a bit licorice in there, and that red currant kind of getting a bit more aniseedy, and it's starting to maybe be paired with sort of some more woody notes, or like this one that we'll see because it's got some piney notes to it as well. Whether it starts to be a little bit licorice, but from the nose, it's not quite there. It's that sweet red currant.
Okay. Picturing it. I'm picturing it.
You can see it has got a kind of a red tinge to it, but that's better on the camera than it is in person. In person, it's a bit more of a murky kind of brown. With a slight hint of red, not very much at all.
There's something appealing about the look, though, even from where I am. I don't know.
So, flavour's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The red currant is there. It's sweeter on the nose than it is in the flavour. They did mention that it was quite a high 64% sweetness, so it expects quite a lot of sweetness in there. But I'm getting much more, and that's okay. You're getting the red currant straight away. That's sort of the first initial flavour. A little bit of sweetness to it, but not big. It's not a huge kind of in your face flavour. The pine kicks in quite quickly, and it's maybe a little bit more, not necessarily artificial, but it's kind of that fake car pine smell rather than a wood pine smell that you'd get if you were walking through a forest. And I think maybe that's something of the 7% showing through a little bit. It feels a little bit more perfumey, a little bit more alcohol-y on there, which is maybe detracting from those flavours very, very slightly. But it does kick in with this bitterness. So it's got this nice red currant, kicks in with some pine, and the bitterness follows in through on the back of that kind of initial pine flavour. And the bitterness is actually got a little heat to it, almost. It's a little sort of tingly at the back of the mouth. Not too much. It's not getting on that kind of ashy kind of end of things. And it's not acrid. It doesn't have that. It's not quite there. And I think maybe that's because the red currant runs throughout the flavour. So whilst it does go red currant, the pine kicks in, the bitterness comes through, that red currant sticks around through those other elements happening. So it ties it up quite neatly, I suppose. You almost come back to the start of the beer at the end, although a little bit harsher because that bitterness is there as well. It's more me talking, I think, that my mouth is getting dry than the beer itself. But it's nice, smooth, medium-bodied, and it does have a bit of a dryness to it. It doesn't. It's not going to quench your thirst. It's not refreshing in any way. Even though this is a little bit colder as well. I only took it out of the fridge maybe 15, 20 minutes ago now. Maybe a little bit longer actually. Maybe more like 25 minutes, something like that. But it's still nice and cool. But it feels like a beer that would be perfect, like at the end of the day. So you've had a couple of beers, whether they've been like Pilsners or Pales or something a little bit lighter, a little bit more crisp and refreshing. Following them up with this would be ideal, I think.
Yeah.
And you could sit there in the late evening sun and just sup on this as kind of your finish for the evening. So hopefully it's something that they continue to brew through spring and into the summer, because it would be very nice when
late summer,
when the sun starts to disappear.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like this.
Yeah, because I always attribute red ales and stuff like that with just autumnal weather. Like fireside.
Absolutely.
Nice and earthy, malty, as you say, woody.
Yes. Malty, woody, earthy. You can sit by a fire and it kind of gives you a sense of warmth. It doesn't warm you, but it gives you a sense of warmth, at least. Yeah. And I think this has that. It's maybe not misplaced in the spring, as we're still quite... it's not too light.
I mean,
too late.
You look at the weather outside. At any point during the day, it seems. I mean, it's up and down. And then it could be winter, it could be autumn.
Absolutely,
could be somewhere in the Mediterranean. Like it just changes every hour. It's maddening.
Yeah, it is.
It's like just be sunny and nothing else.
I was
not asking for much.
I was going to step out the door earlier, and I opened it to just hail. Like I'm just going to stay here. I'm not going anywhere. And it just hailed for about 10 minutes, and it was so loud. I just hid back inside for a bit, did a bit more work. I'm like, well, when the noise stops, I will leave.
And then it was just that was like over here a few days ago, and it was just like, oh, heavens opened up and just hail, and then 10 minutes later it's sunshine.
Yes,
Yeah, I mean, the sun is doing all the hard work. All the Earth has to do is get the bloody clouds out of the way. You know what I mean?
If it rotates
even rolls over.
Yeah,
it even rolls over every day. It's like, you don't have to do much. Just get rid of the clouds. The sun's doing all the hard work.
Absolutely.
God.
Should we talk about some games? And I'll sit here and enjoy this beer. We'll come to you, Lucy. You're bringing the games this week. I've just been plugging away at sort of the games that I was playing previously. Put a tiny bit more into The Last Worker, but not much. Playing a bit more Marvel Snap, a bit more Crisis Core. Started The Last of Us, the remastered version. There was so PlayStation. Did I talk to you about this, or did I talk to Adol about this? PlayStation have started this Stars program where every month, it's not quite as good as the Microsoft rewards, but every month they will give you a different set of tasks to do, and they can be quite abstract in what it asks you. So it will come up and say one of the tasks was to do with zombies, and basically it gave you 5 clues. And those 5 clues relate to a game, and if you play any one of those games, you get the points associated with that task. There's only maybe 4 or 5 tasks a month. One was to there was something else as well, which made me put Death Stranding back in, because it was the only game I had on the list of games. I'm like, cool, I'll put that back in and just fire it up. Cool. And the same with Game Pass. Fired it up, got the points, took it, stopped playing it instantly. But with The Last of Us, I have been feeling that itch. I mentioned it when we were talking about the TV show. So I have played a couple of hours of that. But I mean, there's nothing more to report on that game past the conversations we've already had about it. So I will not divulge any further. So we can come to you, Lucy.
Just quick question. So the Last of Us Remastered that came to, oh no, is that the one that just recently came out, or the one that was from 2014?
No, this is the the re-release of the original game for PlayStation 4.
Right. Okay.
So I think it's just an up-resed
It
version with the
more of the
checkerboarding,
remade one,
and the HDR settings, basically.
Okay. Right.
It looks. I mean, I imagine a lot of us have got The Last of Us 2 as the kind of the way that we think these games look.
Yeah, the benchmark. Yeah.
The Last of Us, I mean, end of the PS3, it looked great. It looks incredibly dated now. Very flat in terms of its textures and things. So it's interesting to go back to it.
It's the one that they did Last of Us Part 1, I think it's called, whatever that came out as a broken mess on PC.
Yep.
Is that on PS4 or is it only PS5?
Yeah, I think it's only PS5 and PC. Yeah. And it's a complete remake, that one. So new engine, all remade completely. Yeah.
I think it kind of blurs the lines between not quite a remake like Resident Evil 4. But I'd say probably Resident Evil 2. Like, there's so many different grades of it. Like, Dead Space and Resident Evil 4 are probably a step below that where they're more faithful to the original, but are more than just up-resing the textures. So, we'll call that the middle ground of remasters. I remember watching a Digital Foundry thing when it originally came out, because the guy who tests, especially like PlayStation exclusives, he was quite hot on The Last of Us, and it looks like they did a lot of work, and just sort of changes that you wouldn't know unless you've recently played the original. So
right.
Probably the way to go is picking up the Part 1 version or whatever that came out.
Yes, but only on PS5 because the PC version's got some
if you come
big
into
problems,
it new,
I think.
Let's say, if you come into it new, that's the one to get. Yes, I never finished the show.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to. I got to the episode with Riley, and I was thinking, man, that DLC was good. And then just some of the lines that they said, they just felt so flat to me. None of the acting's bad. It's just that when you've seen it before and you've just seen it in a way that can't be reproduced, because it's always going to be more impactful the first time round.
Absolutely.
That's why episode 3 with the Bill one was so powerful. I think it's excellent TV, and I think the rest of the episodes just didn't hit those heights, like not even close for me. But it's just sort of a weird uncanny valley kind of thing to it, except that it's like real humans. But it's just like didn't hit. So maybe I will, when I just want to have some more zombie fiction in my life like you at the moment, maybe I'll go back to the last 2 or 3 episodes or something. But I got as far as I could.
It's very faithful with a lot of the scenes, and and the way it sort of all rounds out. It's faithful in a way that, yes, as a TV show, it's hitting a much broader audience that won't have experienced that before. But
And I think it's really well made, and the actors are really good, and everything
completely,
like that.
completely.
It's just that the actors in the game were better.
Yeah, and I think you're
Yeah.
right in that the Bill episode was probably the best one, and great for us because it gave us something different. I would have loved them to have thrown in, and I would imagine a lot of the community we've talked about Ish before. If we'd have just got a little bit more of that in there as well, you know, they pulled in new characters. They could have, just for the kind of people who'd played the game, start to bring in some of those kind of really like fan favorite environmental storytelling elements to be a kind of part of it as well. But they focused on other elements, I suppose, to try and drive the story along a little bit more instead.
Yeah, because with the Ish thing, was it? I'm blanking on it because when I saw it, I was like, "Oh yeah, that Ish. Yeah, this is the part. You know, I know it." Was it? Was it that much implied what happened? I can't because I don't. I feel like they didn't stay long there.
So they didn't massively. It was so in the game, it's when you're with Henry and Sam, and you're going through the sewers and the kind of the underground area, and in the show you do that, you go through that, and it picks up on some of those scenes. So when they're playing football in that kind of class, in that underground classroom kind of area, there is a little bit of a call. I'm sure there is something, and Ish's name is mentioned kind of on a wall or on a piece of paper or something, again as that like environmental storytelling kind of element. In the game, I think it was 4 or 5 collectible notes that basically charted. It's almost like a diary entry. And charted his kind of journey through that space. But it just,
because in the show it was just like implied something bad happened here because there's no kids there, and obviously something bad happened, but it didn't quite go into the horrors of what actually happened, you know, canonically. So I was just like, it's like it just seems like missed opportunity a bit. Well, this is where I'd say it's a nice addendum to the game. It's a nice thing to have on the side, but when it's so faithful to the game, then it doesn't feel like that. It just feels like, okay, just rehashing the same thing, but here's a little sprinkle of Bill for you, just as like just little sprinkles that which I thought were good, and it should have had more of, like the when it was a flashback to how the outbreak happened in, where was it, in Asia? Can't remember.
Iran, wasn't it?
Sorry?
It was in like Kuwait or something like that, I think.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember. Or Turkey, maybe Istanbul or something like that.
Yeah, but the mushroom lady, the mycologist or whatever, like that flashback was really good, and and she's like just napalm everywhere. I'm really interested to see what they do with the second game. Maybe I've caught up by then, because just playing Abby. Good luck. Good luck.
Oh.
You know what they should just? You know what they should just do? They should just get a bloke to play Abby. You know what I mean? Because then the little man children complaining about it, they'll be like, "Oh, what do we do? There's a really buff man, and we like buff men in our fiction."
Get like fanfare, like John Cena or someone like really out of place.
Give him
as
long
well.
hair.
Not even. No, you could get Dave Bautista.
Ponytail.
Like Dave Bautista, I think, is great in very serious roles. He's great at acting. Someone like John Cena is a bit more comedic. Or you go for like Brock Lesnar, someone who's just never been in anything at all. Just his debut is playing Abby, just to see how the internet explodes.
Vince McMahon. Get Vince McMahon to play Abby. No, that I'd watch all the way through.
It will be interesting to see how series 2 and 3 are paced and structured,
Hmm.
considering the kind of the way that the second game works.
Yeah,
Obviously, the second
true.
game can provide much more in terms of story for TV, especially if they keep it at around about the same kind of episodes and runtime and things. So there's a lot for them to explore with that.
Yeah, be interesting. Do you think it's going to have quite a quick turnaround?
I don't know. These kind of bigger budget HBO shows now seem to take more than a year. So I
Hmm.
know that the Game of Thrones one, which we still haven't finished actually, I think we're only about halfway through the first season of House of Dragon, I think. Um, they're waiting about 18 months to 2 years
Okay.
before the second season comes out. The Last of Us is shorter. I think a lot of the
Yeah.
episodes were kind of maybe 40-ish minutes, a couple of longer ones, a couple of shorter ones. I guess it will depend on the ease of things like location shooting
Yeah.
and that, because do they and a lot of the Last of Us Part 2 happens in the same place. It's not quite as spread out as the first game. You know, that
Yeah.
kind of that
Yeah.
journey, that road trip kind of storyline. A lot of it happens in the city. Apart from a few, you know, the initial kind of bits and a few sort of interstitial elements before everyone kind of moves on to the next parts. And there's a lot of that game which I don't think they'll touch in a second or third episode, like the last kind of act, which is almost like a fourth act in that game, rather than a third act. So
Mm.
yeah, I don't know how they're going to do it, but I'll be interested to
It'll be
see.
interesting. Yeah,
Just
for
what
sure.
just watch it just to see how that's conveyed, almost as just out of interest rather than something to actually sit down and watch.
Yeah. Well, they got a good foundation. The first series, as I say, it's good. It's really well made TV. It's just for me a bit of a weird thing that
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't push past after a certain point. But yeah, good TV show.
Yeah.
So no reason that, especially if like Neil Druckmann's involved with the second one as well, can probably expect similar results. And
He can. I mean, is he? So Neil Druckmann, he got bumped up to something in Naughty Dog, didn't he? Whether he,
yeah,
I know. So he's now co-president of Naughty Dog.
I mean that's impressive
It,
considering where he came from. Yeah, good for him.
it is absolutely, but does that with his then kind of writing and participation on the show pull away from the studio a little bit, or at least it's got to pull away from his responsibilities at the studio, and I
Yeah,
wonder whether
yeah.
something like that will start to impact on the schedule that things are released.
I imagine that he probably wouldn't have been like lead on whatever they're doing anyway next. Because I mean, The Last of Us is his baby. I
Yeah.
think they said that they may not make pre, and if they do, it'd probably be after whatever they're making now. But given how long those games take to come out,
Yeah.
he could have probably made season 2, 3, 4, and 5 before the next game comes out. So yeah, and still just be there like, okay, we're fixing the bugs now. Neil, come help us.
Yeah.
He's just like, this is crap, and just tears up the script. And he's like, start again. It's like, we spent 8 years.
I can't remember whether Factions, which is this multiplayer version,
Oh yeah,
which is going to be
yeah.
coming out, which I would assume is similar-ish to the first game's multiplayer gameplay.
Completely
But
forgot
it's
about
coming
that.
out as its own standalone product. Whether that comes this year or next year, I can't imagine there's a huge story
Well, you know
element
what?
to it. But
If you're not making the third game, all those assets, all that engine, you're not going to let that go to waste,
Ah,
are
absolutely,
you?
absolutely.
Yeah.
But it,
Mhm.
it kind of makes sense then to expand that little bit more maybe into telly, and actually
Mhm.
if there's going to be bigger gaps between the seasons, do
Mhm.
you throw together some kind of show that is maybe like Tales of the Last of Us or something like that, and every episode is completely different. Somewhere where you might get Ish's story, or you might get some of the other characters, the kind of a prequel to them appearing,
Yeah.
so Henry and Sam or something like that.
It would definitely be in like a Destiny model though, and who the F wants that? Because like they bought Bungie. Jim Ryan's
True.
running scared about Microsoft owning Call of Duty,
Yes.
and I mean the whole thing's just a fiasco and embarrassing on both sides. But it's just like, um, what if people have rightly said is, Sony, you can also make your own multiplayer game
Yeah.
that competes with Call of
Mm-hmm.
Duty, and Last of Us is the game to do it with. Like it's
Ooh.
a bit like just make a live service game that has a long tail that can become a Destiny like. It's obviously not going to be bigger than Call of Duty no
Mm-hmm.
matter what because it's only on one platform anyway. But
Yep.
yeah, I mean, and you've got the best developer, in my opinion, under your umbrella making it. Invest in that. Maybe I mean, it's already been spun off to a new game. Maybe they have. Maybe someone beneath Jim Ryan is probably smarter than him. Has been like, why don't we do this? How about this, Jim? And he'd be like, Last of Us, that's from 2013. That's an old game.
Yeah.
We're just like, we're talking about the
That's a
second
very good
game,
impression of
Jim.
him as well.
Talking about the second game, Jim. 2020, old. Throw it in the trash. No one plays old games.
They'll
No
do
one's
they'll
gonna want
do
to play
factions and
multiplayer.
whatever they're going to call it, and the year after they'll have completely reworked it into a Destiny like live service, half MMO style
Yeah,
kind of game. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what I'd do. Personally, because the a lot of people love the first one's multiplayer mode.
It
So
was great. I
yeah,
enjoyed
I
that.
didn't play. I think I played one round of it, and that was me done. Um,
It built on the multiplayer from Uncharted 3 quite well.
oh yes,
Mm.
oh yeah. Gosh, remember that? Also played one round of that and got bored of it, or maybe two.
I think I played it more in 4
Mm-hmm.
because there were two. I can't remember whether it was 2 and 3 or 3 and 4, which had the multiplayer versions.
I think four did
But
because
yeah.
when you like swing around
Oh yes, it
in
was. It was 4
multiplayer.
because you could swing around. Yes, I
Mhm.
played that quite a lot.
Yeah,
And again, a release after The Last of Us. When did 4 come out? 2016-ish, something like
hmm
that for Uncharted.
playing multiplayer games on PlayStation just always felt wrong to me. Just because I had an Xbox
Yeah.
360 first, it was just like, yeah, that was the dude bro Madden Call of Duty box. It's like I come to PlayStation for my high art,
Oh
not
yes, of course.
multiplayer. Yes, how crude and uncouth. Play
I
multiplayer.
can play my. I must smash things with these giant chains of Olympus instead, and fuck these random women on this bed.
Yes, highbrow. Oh, dear. Right. Should we talk about that one game I played?
Please.
I played Storyteller, which is a game from Annapurna. They published it,
Ah, yes.
and let me get the name of the developer. I think it's I mean, it may just not be him alone, but the main guy attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
Has been working on the game for like I think it was like 10 years or something. Let's have a look. Storyteller Steam. Yeah, I bought it. I think it only came out a few weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
March 23rd. And I bought it recently. It's Daniel Benmergui. Benmergui. Yeah, it's a puzzle game. If you've heard of it, I think is the demo still up?
Oh.
I'm not sure if the demo's still up, but
It's
the
not on the
demos were
Steam page.
okay.
Which
They
is
were
now gone.
floating about in like the last Steam festival and stuff like that,
Okay.
I think, or prior to that maybe. I still had it downloaded in my Steam, so could have been from a year or two ago. Because it's so weird that they put demos up, take them down, and there's got to be a reason for it. But one I can't understand because it's like put a demo for your game up. More likely people are going to buy it than be
Yeah.
turned off by it, I think. Anyway, I think this game came under a bit of flack, which is unfortunate because of its short run time.
Right.
And I played it in one sitting,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a hell of a time playing it. It was probably 2 hours, 2.5 hours. But it's Steam. It's weird gamer babies. The weirdest thing is like if you're buying a video game, if you're buying a indie game as well, you've probably got disposable income.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. Gaming is a luxury, it's a hobby.
Yep.
If you're buying a little indie game that, it's not like you're buying Elden Ring and that's your game for the year or something like that. If you're buying a little indie game, if you're close enough to the scene or whatever, then you've probably got enough disposable income. Like, what is it, $13.99? I think I bought it for about 11 in the launch discount.
Yeah, it's $12.49 at the moment.
$12.49, yeah. And the weirdest things is when you see reviews saying, "Oh yeah, I really enjoyed this game, but it's too short. Thumbs down." And just like, if you enjoyed it, then surely that justifies maybe not all the price, but most of it. You know what I mean? And it's just sad to see that it's
I mean, a pizza
the
costs
reviews.
more than that, and you eat it in 5 minutes.
Yeah, especially if you're hungry, you demolish that in seconds.
Absolutely.
So it just never makes sense to me. So it's sat at mostly positive, which I think is unfair. Is to I don't get it. I don't get it. Anyway,
Yeah,
to describe it,
interestingly, the ones that are on the front of the kind of reviews that are kind of thumbs down, it is just the cost. That is it. There's nothing else that people are saying. People are saying I loved it, but it was too short. Too short to be this expensive. This game has soul. It's a cute puzzle game with interesting timeline mechanic, but it's cruelly short, and there's little reason to replay it once you finish it.
Because I think I saw the developer come out on like Twitter and stuff and saying like, maybe don't downvote the game if it's like good, and if there's nothing wrong with it and it's well made, because the people complaining about it being too short are shortchanging themselves, because if there was any plan to release more levels or do bigger expansions or something like that, you're just putting the game in possibly a worse financial position by, downvoting it. And people do look at, the ratings on Steam. These algorithms matter as well. And it's like, you're kind of just shooting yourself in the foot at the same time.
Yeah.
It's not. It doesn't seem like it's a way to inform other, purchasers, other customers. It just seems like I have a gripe about this. Let me gripe about it. You know what I mean? There's nothing informative in downvoting something because of the runtime. It's like, say, really enjoyed this. It just know that it's short when you're going into it, which I did. I saw the reviews and then I bought it and think, oh, it seems cool, but it's short, which is a thumbs up for me anyway. And it's just like, yeah, okay. It looks cool, and it is cool. It's a very straightforward puzzle game. So I haven't seen much of like any pre-release material prior to playing it, but I just knew it was a sort of like storybook kind of not choose your own adventure, but like in the panels in like the storybook, you're basically moving them around, sort of like that game ages ago, Framed, where it's like you're moving the frames in different orders and basically creating a story from the different positioning of the frames and the different characters that you put in each frame. It's far more rigid than I expected, but I like that because it is just simply a puzzle. Basically, each level, I think there's about 12 chapters, and I think there's about 4 per chapter. So looking somewhere around 50 levels. But each chapter is basically a scenario, and a lot of them are, derived from, common storybook tales and stuff like Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet, or Hamlet, or gosh, what are the other ones? All kinds of Hans Christian Andersen books, and different scenarios, and it like basically gives you what to create, moving the panels and the characters around. So one might be I don't know, star-crossed lovers commit suicide or something like that, or and you're having to position, okay, one's Romeo, one's Juliet. Okay, each panel that you can put in has a certain theme to it. So there can be like a love panel where 2 characters get married, or there can be a death one where a character dies and another one's by their gravestone. That can be a succession to the throne panel where a certain character is made king or queen. And so there's all these different scenarios. There's a decent handful of those, and the game keeps it interesting by introducing new ones all the time. And then it's just about putting those panels in the right order and assigning the right characters to particular panels, and it's really charming, which you'd expect from something that's like storybook, old tales, kind of aesthetic, but like the animation that plays it seems so like custom and bespoke, depending on like where you put the characters and how they'll act. Like some of them have different personalities, and some of them have different attributes and traits. So some of them are more murderous and hateful than others. So yeah, and it's just great seeing like the little bespoke animations like play when you like just drag any character into any frame, into any panel, and it's like, oh, that's cool. And there's like multiple solutions for like certain puzzles, and it gives you like the option to like get that as well as what would consider to be the most obvious solution. So yeah, it's really charming. It's really colourful. It's a fun. It's just a straight up puzzle game. It's like, this is a scenario we want you to create it, and use a bit of sometimes a bit of deduction, sometimes a bit of working out, a bit of common sense, and it's just that for 2 hours. As I said, I played it in one sitting.
You can't say stumble across a sort of like different solution. If you're on your panel and you've got, say, the 3 frames or 6 frames, and you're moving characters, you're changing the kind of the layout or the panel that's there, and what happens between those sorts of things. Can you sort of for that page, is there one solution, or could you be like, I've done it in this combination of things, and actually it's made this completely different solution, and there is that is a tick somewhere else or something?
Yeah, there are certainly a few levels. It's probably at least one every kind of like chapter. So there's four mini chapters in each main chapter. So probably about a quarter of the levels have a different solution. and there are a few achievements as well that I, went back and looked and it's like, oh, maybe not a solution, just but a new animation to see or a new scenario to see. But yeah, most levels are okay. There's only one solution, and you have to reach it there, just because of the constraints of how many frames you actually have. You can use as least as possible if you want to, but usually it's going to be about 4 or 5, or I think the maximum is 6 actually, or maybe it's a bit more. I can't remember. Maybe 8.
Okay.
But it's like, if you can get to that solution quicker, then you can do that. But yeah, it's as I say, it's more rigid than I thought. I thought there'd be maybe a bit more. I don't know if freedom's the right word. Maybe more. Maybe just more solutions to different puzzles, and maybe a bit more branching, a bit more, a bit more expansive than just like say the 6 or 8 frames that you're given.
Yeah.
But the ones that are there, are, as I say, the kind of like hints that they give you. It's not like giving you straightforward, I want this, that, and the other. There's a bit of, you have to infer what the title is, and there's a bit of working out in that as well. So, yeah, it's I'm trying to make caveats for it, but I don't have to because I really enjoyed it. It's like I feel like I have to make up for what like everyone else said on Steam, because
again, it's one of those that actually, if these sort of different little vignettes are taking kind of 5, minutes to kind of run through and achieve, actually you get through quite a lot in 2 hours.
Yeah, true.
So it's
true.
Is it a case that actually there's 10 levels and they take 10 minutes each to kind of complete, or 15 minutes each to complete, or are there like 100 levels and they take 3 minutes each to complete? Because that's a lot of it's still a lot of content, even if it's being delivered in that short space of time.
Yeah, I think what hurts it the most is that as I say, there's about 50 levels. I think because it introduces more of those different types of panels, like a love panel, a death panel, a succession to the throne panel, a murder mystery, witness panel and stuff like that. I think because it introduces those elements at quite a quick cadence, you're always having to go back to tutorializing that new one. So it's like, okay, the first level in the first, when you see like, okay, someone turns into a werewolf, the first time you see that panel and the first time you use it, it's giving you a very small and easy, very straightforward level to tutorialize it.
Okay.
And then it's like when there's only 3, or maybe sometimes they leak over into other chapters, say 3 to 6 more chapters that actually use that particular panel. It's like, okay, we've already spent one doing a tutorial level, and it feels like maybe you didn't need to do that, because I think you can infer. I mean, what the mechanics of the game is so far. It seems like just using a bit of trial and error would have, just made that easier, instead of like, holding the player's hand to tutorialize every new like mechanic and scenario in there. So
yeah.
And you got to be sympathetic to, like, I mean, it didn't take the guy 10 years just because he had all this free time, and he had a massive team and of developers, and it's just like, he oversaw a project of like hundreds of people. It's like, no, it's probably the guy probably has at least 1 or 2 other jobs at this point over the last 10 years. It's like, you don't expect the world. I think,
absolutely, yeah.
The amount of polish, and maybe the fact it was picked up by Annapurna, is just like some people may see that as a siren for, oh, this is going to be a good quality long game, and it's just like, no, it's just got a bit more polish and a bit more press, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And again,
Look at
the
12 minutes.
yeah.
I mean, in terms of like that got Hollywood actors that got very polished up, but it's still the guy's vision because I can't imagine anyone thought Annapurna that twist at the end was a good idea. So it's just like yeah. I think people think,
absolutely.
oh, Annapurna's on it. It's going to be this massive, expansive,
Mm.
big game like Stray. I think Stray fell to like those expectations when it was a really good game about a cat that lasted 6 hours. Like people were expecting it to be, I don't know, open world Oliver and Company or something like that. It's just like no.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Expectations in check, but I think it's a really good game. Really well made. Fun puzzles, good polish, very colourful. I hope he gets to do more levels in the future because but could you imagine if charged money for DLC? The internet would
£5 for one
implode.
additional panel.
Yeah. Hey, I'd do it. Why not? Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it. As I say, if I didn't, I wouldn't have played it in one sitting. It was just a really good way to like take my mind off stuff and just actually play a video game.
Yeah, that's nice.
I think that's what I need. Just like straightforward puzzle games where it's like I don't have to listen to any character dialogue or anything like that, or learn 100 new mechanics. Sort of like Dredge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Just plays itself, really.
It's
Yeah.
like, it's interesting, something like Annapurna bringing a lot of these games because they've got such a broad range of titles that they publish. Just having a look at their kind of upcoming games. We've got Open Roads, Thirsty Suitors.
The Fulbright one.
Open Roads, is it Fulbright? Maybe it was, but now it's by Open Roads Team. So it says, but I think you're right in that it was a Fulbright game.
Interesting.
Because there was a little controversy around the team, or at least the
Steve Gaynor.
yes, I remember
company.
that was last year, wasn't it? But
Something
yeah, they've
like
got like a Skin Deep, and a bunch of other games that are kind of coming out, like a really broad range of titles. And just look back at their kind of like catalogue as well. It's absolutely absolutely insane.
I think Stray would have lined their pockets a bit, so hopefully they can invest in even weirder and smaller.
Completely. And one of your favourite games last year, Neon White, as well, is Annapurna. The Outer Wilds, which everyone absolutely loves. You can, if you wish, buy a bundle. You get a 10% discount on an Annapurna bundle, but it's pretty much every game on Steam, and it's £361 because you get 10% discount. But it's Stray, Neon White, Solar Ash, Outer Wilds, Journey, Storyteller, What Remains of Edith Finch, Hokum, The Pathless, 12 Minutes, Artful Escape, Last Stop, Sayonara Wild Hearts, Gorogoa, Memoir Blue, Maquette, Wattam, Ashen, Florence, I Am Dead, The Unfinished Swan, Donut County, If Found, Telling Lies, Flower, and Hindsight.
That is a good list of games.
An amazing list of games.
Yeah.
A lot of which you can just pay £12 for and play on Game Pass right now.
Yeah, true. But yeah, like even the ones that I weren't crazy about or didn't love as much as other people, like still really good. They're not all bangers, but it's close to it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's like even the bad ones are pretty. It's an experience. They're pretty okay. So yeah.
Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Annapurna.
Yeah. They've got an eye for it. So long may they continue.
Definitely. It's interesting seeing sort of the rise of Annapurna and say like Devolver Digital within that kind of indie publishing space,
Mhm.
both finding a very different kind of space to be in, I
Yeah.
suppose, which is great. So
A lot of pastel color games. Whereas I associate Devolver with just being like black, white, and red,
and
like their
chaos.
logo. Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of nice muted pastel colors in Annapurna's case. So yeah.
I wonder if there's a
Mm.
Devolver's probably got a few more
Yeah.
games than Annapurna do at this point. I have no idea how to find all of their all 187 games.
Oh
No,
my god.
108 games. Some of those include some of those
Still a lot.
87 DLCs and soundtracks. But yeah, 108 games on Steam
That's
right
a lot.
now.
That's a lot, and a lot of them are good. They're up gaming ones. Is it Gunbrella? That looks fun.
Yes. Yeah.
And what's it? Is it called Angry Foot or something?
Angry
which is
Foot,
the FPS where you just
Anger
kick
Foot.
people? That looks good.
Yeah, by the Terra Nil sort of developers. They did Terra Nil as well. Obviously, there's things like Enter the Gungeon and stuff, kind of from them. Top sellers. Let's have a look on Steam. Top seller is Cult of the Lamb.
Oh really?
Yep. Then Inscription.
Oh really?
Yeah, and then Enter the Gungeon, Return to Monkey Island, Loop Hero, Hotline Miami 2, and then various others.
That's interesting.
And again, things like Death's Door, Gree, My Friend Pedro. Like, there's tons
That's not a Devolver game. It's not enough guns. What's going on there? That should be the Annapurna pile.
Yes, you'd imagine it would be, wouldn't you? I like things like Mother Russia Bleeds. Just ridiculously
really
over the top games.
Yeah. Yes.
Amazing.
Good catalogue.
Yeah, very good catalogue. You can't go wrong with those two developers. Just play their games. Don't worry about anything else. That's all you need. Forever.
Yeah. I need to find another good puzzle game. I mean, to say that I should just look in my Steam library.
Just
12.
yeah.
It's just like, I don't feel like that one today. Let me just go to the store and buy something else.
Something new, and then ignore it for a few days.
Months.
So you go, that one exists.
Years.
Yes, okay. I'll play that. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Is there anything kind of on its way within the next kind of month or two that you're really looking forward to? Because I know, both you and I'm finding difficulty in time to kind of play games. I think you've sort of fallen in with a little bit of, not a funk as such, but kind of you're in a position where you're like, I want something, different. I want to play. I'm going to play this because it's something different rather than just the same stuff over and over again.
I want something that's very specific to my mood, and I'm not going to know what that is. I just hope I stumble across it. But code I did get, was it yesterday? Is it Shadows of Doubt, or is it Shadow?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering the pluralization on that one. Which is a game, Shadows of Doubt, which was doing the rounds in the last Steam festival. The demo that's coming out in early access on the 24th. So I'll obviously recheck the embargo note. So hopefully, when the embargo lifts, I might have played some of it. I downloaded it to see if it worked on Steam Deck. I'll probably have to tweak too much of the controls to play that comfortably. So it's downloaded on my PC. I'm looking forward to that because it's basically a voxel first-person like immersive sim. And yeah, it looks very moody, like kind of Blade Runner-esque, like very dark and rainy urban city.
Yes.
So yeah, and just here, I don't actually know what it's about. I think a lot of people are raving about it, but it's like they were just raving about it because it's an immersive sim, and they were just like, you can do this, that, and the other. It's like, yeah, but what are you actually meant to be
What
doing?
am I doing? Am I hacking
Yeah,
stuff? Am I
yeah.
killing people? Am I driving
Yeah. I
around?
think
What
you're
am
a
I doing?
detective. I think you're
Yeah.
a detective. But yeah, this seems like it'll scratch this itch, which probably only came into in probably the last 5, no, probably more than that. What is time? I was thinking, when did Prey come out? And I played Prey a couple years after the fact. Anyway, let's say in terms of the 30 years I've been playing games, more recent, maybe in the last quarter
Yeah.
of immersive sims. I mean, Hitman's basically an immersive sim,
Yeah,
isn't it?
and the newer
Yeah.
Deus Ex or Deus Ex really completely
Mm-hmm.
is an immersive
Mm-hmm.
sim. Prey, which I know you really enjoyed as well. To let you and let everybody know, the embargo is the 21st of April. So it's the
Okay,
week
so that's
before the
10,
release,
yeah.
but
So
we'll
the week
discuss it
after,
the week it
yeah.
releases, basically. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, yeah. So the only reticence I have is like, oh, if I really like it, am I just not going to want to play anything until it comes out for real? You know, I'll just be like, I'm not playing it Silk Song. I don't care it's out. I want to play Shadows of Doubt. It's not out yet.
Yeah,
It's in
yeah.
early access. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I'll definitely give it a go. Oh. So
What
yeah, that's
was
it. But
what was the game that came out which looks incredibly like this, but you're a taxi driver in a hover car?
uh, Cloud Strife. No. I think Cloud. Oh, Chris.
Cloud Punk.
Yes, thank
Yes.
you. The most obvious name that it would be after Cloud. Yes, Cyberpunk
Oh yeah,
games
there
and
it is.
Cloud. Yes.
Because
Yeah.
they had another game coming out as well, didn't they?
Yes, but gosh, what was that though? Was that like more of a sim city? Because I think it was like when you're actually like on the ground, and I
Yeah,
can't remember if it was like
yeah.
a sim game, like where you build a city, or
Okay,
if it's
okay.
more an adventure game in the city,
Yeah,
like
only because this
flying the
reminds me,
car.
or Shadows of Doubt
Hmm.
reminds me of Cloudpunk quite a lot. You know, the similar
Hmm.
kind of
Hmm.
cyberpunk aesthetic, the use of kind of like voxels, that kind of tone to it
Hmm.
seems or feels very, very similar.
Yeah, I must say, even though I just launched it on Steam Deck and then pretty much closed it because I realised the controls would have been a bit of a faff. The voxels look kind of good. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's like I didn't know there's so many levels to voxel. It's like pixel art when you see like really good pixel art. It's just, mm, that's highly detailed. Yeah, this is good
Oh,
voxel
so
art.
their next game
Mm-hmm.
again is sort of, looks like it's coming straight off of the back of Cloudpunk, is called Nivalis.
Right.
Um,
Yes, that rings a bell.
and it's it is a life sim kind of game. Grow your business, manage restaurants and nightclubs, make friends and enemies, buy and decorate apartments, go fishing, and maybe even find love in Nivalis, the city that stretches from the ocean to the clouds. Interestingly, the tone is still there, but
Mm-hmm.
it looks a little different. Some stuff looks voxel, but the
Yeah.
characters are like 3D models instead.
Okay. Yeah.
Very smooth 3D models living in this very kind of voxel world, which is a little bit of
Gotcha.
disparity between that. But
Yeah.
even that looks even better. Like
Yeah.
the reflections, the lighting, everything looks even better than Cloudpunk did.
Yeah. And if there's one thing about Cloudbook, it looked very good.
Mm.
Um, I think that might have been one of the first games I played on like my new PC. Was
Yeah.
it? Can't remember. But yeah, it just looked really good. well, my new PC at the time.
Yeah, several years
Yeah.
ago, whenever Cloudpunk actually came out.
Yeah. Yeah, because I got it in 2020.
Yeah,
Just before the
yeah.
pandemic. Yeah. Yeah, it looked real good. Looked real good. It's like, I don't need a graphics card to play Doom or Witcher or Red Dead. I've got my indie games, my very pretty indie games.
Hooray!
Right. But yeah, I mean, I don't even know what games are coming out this year, so it's just like there's nothing to look forward to because Silksong is a myth and the Lion's never
Yeah.
coming out. So I guess the Breath of the Wild thing,
Mm.
um, Tears of the Kingdom. I think I'd give that a shot. I think I like the exploration in the first game enough just to not look at any more of the preview stuff and
Yeah.
just jump in. It's like I've got money sat in that account that I've got from a few Christmases past, and it's not going anywhere. Might as well just use it on Breath of the Wild and hopefully get lost in that. So.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anything for you coming up? Spider-Man 2 is meant to be out this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in this weird space that I don't really kind of, the kind of games that I would normally play on console. So sort of more of the action games, stuff like Jedi Survivor, which is coming out at the end of this month.
Is it?
Yeah. I would like to play, but I want to kind of play it on the sofa in an evening, but I don't even know if there's a PS4 version of that game coming out. I would imagine there is, but I'm at that kind of point with gaming where I'm ready now for kind of that next jump. And again, I probably need to beef the PC up very slightly for kind of the newer games coming out. Stuff like Elden Ring, which is a 2021 game now, or is a 2022 game.
22,
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's last year.
It looks good, but I think the stuff that's going to start coming out will start to look a little bit old on the PC now.
Yeah.
Whereas if I had a PlayStation 5 that was just out the box, everything's here, don't worry about new components or all of these kinds of bits.
Yeah. Because I never thought about that because I've got the Series X and to be honest, I mean in terms of like performance, you can't really compromise on that, but you're not missing anything, like at all whatsoever. Not Tokyo Jungle, Ghostwire Tokyo came on Game Pass today,
Right?
So that's installed. Might check that
Nice.
out.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what you think about that because it doesn't seem like your kind of.
I liked how weird it looked. I think what would put me off more is the fact that I think people said it was just filled with a lot of filler.
Yeah.
Like open world filler rather than just like make a cool 6-7 hour game that's weird and yeah. We'll see. I think I just want to see it running and see it in action. I just want to walk around like rainy Tokyo for a little bit, and then I'll probably just bail. But,
yeah, you see the first ghost, you're like, no, you're all right, don't worry, I'm just going over here instead. Just have a look over here.
Yeah. Yeah, but I know what you mean. Like, it feels like we need a next generation already. That's what it feels like. It feels like this one is just not doing it. And obviously things get better towards the end, like people are used to the tech. And, these started off in a pandemic anyway, so things are already weird. But yeah, I think I'm just nestling into my little niche of I'll play what I want when I want to. And, it's always going to be something that's a little bit offbeat or like 30 years old. So it's just like, yeah,
fair. I might just a quick mention. The only other one, which is coming this year, I think, is called Synergy, which is a city builder, but it's got this kind of tone to it, which is, I suppose, more recently closer to something like Sable, perhaps, in terms of sort of the aesthetic quality that it's got to it. It has a bit of a disparate kind of feel that older kind of management games like Theme Park and those kinds of games, where you're not like Ixion was very much try and absolutely, land is the commodity here, and you have to make this as efficient as possible. Synergy kind of looks like you can spread that a little bit. It doesn't have necessarily the same kind of survival elements that things like Banished and those kinds of games, and a couple of other ones that have come out more recently or on their way out do, like Endzone and stuff like that, have to them. Synergy just looks like it's going to be just fun. And it's got kind of city builder elements to it. There is a story with different events that kind of happen and stuff throughout it as well. So I think that's kind of my two, probably Synergy and Jedi Survivor. Who knows if I'll ever get time to actually play any of these games.
Synergy is not the Half-Life 2 mod.
No.
Trying to find it on Steam. Oh yes. I've just seen a little trailer on YouTube. That looks pretty. That looks calming.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, absolutely.
I like the art style in that. Look at this dude. Yeah, this is my kind of art style. My kind of chill.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's well pretty. I want to play this.
Get it on the wish list, Lucy.
Yeah, it probably already is.
Yeah, more than likely, yeah.
Yeah, the amount of city builders that I put on my wish list and thinking, oh, this looks cool. Will I ever play it? No, this isn't even my kind of genre. Why do I do this? I guess it helps the algorithm for them, but yeah, Synergy's going on my. Oh, this is fantastic. I'll just ask you to stream it so I can just look at it. Live vicariously through you.
Absolutely. We can just sit on Discord. I'll just stream it on Discord. Which is, I suppose, is a good point for me to round up the episode and say to you, friends, if you want to come and watch me play Synergy when it releases, if we can organise that, come to our Discord, hit one of us up, or go to outoflives.net to look at the post for the podcast and any of the previous episodes as well, and there is a link to our Discord in there. Before we finish out completely, I will mention Flashdance Feeling. I really enjoyed it. It softened that bitterness and that pininess softened a little bit, and the alcohol, that kind of that slightly more fragrant pininess that I was getting, it definitely all softened. It didn't harden in a way that it leaned more into the kind of more aniseed kind of licorice end, which it felt like that red currant could very easily do. Didn't get to that point, which was nice. It stayed with a little bit of that sweetness, and as I say, it softened very slightly. So a very, very nice beer, and I would suggest, as I did at the start, that this is a lovely beer just to finish your night out on as well. Have a couple of beers during the day, sit down in an evening in the last bit of sun and enjoy one of these.
Yeah, when the sun eventually comes out.
Who knows when that will be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow will be sunny all day. Oh, Synergy was on my wish list.
Oh, good. Nice.
Yeah.
So, friends, you can get me at Nova_47. Lucy is
Juicy Loose 9.
And you can tell us the beers that you're drinking or what's on your wish list, and you'll probably find.
I mean, don't look at mine.
Games.
Mine's just full of shame. I've got like 900 games on my wish list or something, and it's like, it's a lot. And it's like, I need to start hacking this down, but I feel so guilty. It's like, will I ever buy this game? What about poor little indie developer who needs the wish list things? It's like the game was in 2014. They don't care anymore. They're defunct anyway.
Exactly. Mine goes back to 2017. My wish list. There's maybe 50-ish games on it.
Oh, lucky you! Mine's 891. I was just like, oh yeah, that looks cool.
Brilliant.
Still hasn't come out in 10 years. I'll leave it on there.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe I've got about 10 or 12 which are kind of coming soon, even without kind of release dates. I think the latest one that has come out, or the latest couple that came out, were Road 96, Mile Zero. So they've released the prequel for that, and then Tron Identity, which came out yesterday as well, I think.
Tron game?
Yes, mate. That's the new Bithell Games game.
Oh!
They made a Tron game.
What kind of game is
it's
it?
a visual novel. It's in the style of Subsurface Circular. So it follows a very similar kind of narrative and visual novel sort of style that
I wish I cared about Tron, but
Tron's great. I fucking love Tron.
I've never watched it. Has anyone seen Tron? No. You're Chief Wiggum, the only one who's seen it. Yeah. Maybe I should do that one time. Watch Tron.
I mean,
it doesn't hold up now, or just.
You could watch Tron.
I'll just think of the Simpsons episode.
Yeah, just do that instead. Yeah. I mean, I liked the newer film that came out. Again, that must be more than 10 years ago now.
Yeah,
there was other stuff in development. Like there was a cartoon, I think, for Disney in development, and they were going to make another film, and it all just sort of died a bit of a death. But it's nice to see that the IP is being used, and used in this kind of way as well. Like everyone wants a light cycle game, of course they do. That's fucking cool as shit. But
I think I remember playing a game of Tron where it is just a cycling game or something, or like an achievement or something. So
yeah, there are definitely.
So I broke my Tron duck. Yeah, I mean, maybe when it goes on sale and if it gets good reviews, but I'm very positive already. Yeah, maybe I'll check it out. And it's like if I like some of this Tron universe, then why not? But my sci-fi is, as we both know, very selective. Gotta be grounded enough and not have any stupid aliens getting married or something like that.
I mean, Tron doesn't have aliens getting married. It's all about kind of being absorbed into VR almost, and into the gaming world, and actually programs and things having consciousness, I suppose. There's a game called Tron 2.0 which came out in 2003, which looks all sorts of jank. Amazingly, but that, again, that was Disney kind of published. When did the film come out?
Monolith. Wow.
When did the film come out?
That was August 2003.
Tron Legacy.
I think it was around then.
2010, the second film came out.
Yeah.
So they were obviously doing things in between. So this game comes out in 2003. A film follows several years later. We're now getting Tron Legacy, and I've seen Mike Bithell publish or tweet some published articles which basically say there are more Tron games in development in partnership with Bithell Games as well.
Okay.
So it seems like they've maybe got some kind of multi-game deal within the Tron sort of universe, which is great. Because if this does have those,
the studio afloat for several years.
Absolutely, get that Disney money in. And if they do have, success with this one, it only allows them to just keep building on that pedigree as well.
Yeah.
And to push Tron a little bit more to everyone's hearts. Hooray!
Hey, you know what? The only Tron that I want to play is Toe Jam and Earl. Welcome to Funkatron.
Panic on
Funkatron.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to Funkatron. Okay, well, Panic on Funkatron. Yeah, that's the only Tron game I want to play.
That's fair. Yeah, that's a good game.
Yeah. Toe Jam and L.
Completely
Cool.
different kind of game to the first Toe Jam and L. They just like, let's just make a completely different game. But, you know, why not?
If I wanted to have a drink with any video game characters, it'd be Toe Jam and L for sure. Yeah. You're going to end up in some interesting places.
Like, just you start off in some kind of Hawaiian bar, just sat on the beach, just, you know, chilled, and suddenly you're like face down in puke in a New York underground nightclub or something like that. Just, yeah.
They know how to party.
Absolutely. Right. What a good point to finish out on for the week. Tweet us, come to outlives.net, do all of those things. Rate, review us on your podcast service of choice because it always helps. Tell a friend and spread the word of coming in, hanging out with us and chatting to us about video games and craft beer. Thanks for joining us this week. We will catch you very, very soon. Lucy, would you like to leave our listeners with any pearls of wisdom this week?
Care of yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
The hailstones are heavy. You don't want to get crushed by them. Always bring an umbrella if you're in the UK.
Good.
You just never know.
Man, like
That's
a
my tip.
pocket umbrella. Be a really good invention.
Yes, a retractable one.
Yeah.
A really retractable one. Yeah. Someone patent that.
We'll get on it. We'll get on it.
Just do the idea. Take our idea. It's fine. You get the money for it. But
Oh, that's
make one.
fine. Absolutely. I just want one. I'll buy it.
Yeah.
Someone else sort it out.
Yes. Do it for the people.
Good. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
www.outoflives.net